Order. It is 9 a.m. on March 12th, and we're here for our weekly community development meeting. And let's see, Jerry, you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Commissioners Brooks and Duncan are here, and I believe Chairman Filios should be on his way. All right. So are there any changes to the agenda? Okay. And we can start with item 6, deliberations, request for fee waiver.
Thank you, Commissioners. David Callahan. This is before you because even though we have discussed allowing me to do this sort of thing in the future, that needs to be done by resolution.
Sure.
I've kept Pat busy on many other things lately, and he's been on top of many other things, and so the resolution's coming. In the meantime, we still need to ask you to waive the fee.
Sure. So had the resolution been in place, would you be approving this?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, Bill?
No.
Okay, I would take a motion.
Okay, I move that we approve the request for fee waiver from Kootenai County Fairgrounds / North Idaho Fair Board.
All right, I'll second.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chairman Filios is absent.
All right, so we can go on to item number 7, and that's our signing for case number MSF 20-001, Walking Horse Estates.
It's ready for your signature.
Okay.
That really is all you need to know.
All right, so do you want to make a motion to execute?
Sure, I'll make a motion to execute the signing in case number MSF 20-0001, Walking Horse Estates.
All right, I second.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chairman Filios is now present.
So we're almost
I'd be
done.
outvoted anyway if I were opposed, so.
No, it's the signings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you approved this one anyway,
Okay, great.
so. I figured you
Sorry
needed to
about
be
that.
here for the last one, so
Okay.
I decided to.
If I was gonna be substantially late.
Oh, we had Sean and Jerry here.
Oh, that explains why he's here, okay. Oh, okay.
Please.
You want something?
I do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You are. My pleasure.
Oh, yeah, we approved this one too, okay.
Yeah, so we're on item 8.
Okay, so we're moving on to the signing section of our,
We just did that.
oh, you just did that, that's what we just signed. Go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah, so we're ready for item 8 for our community development update. So if you'd like to lead us off.
Okay, sure. So item A for the update is consideration of ordinance amendment of section regarding county land use and development code 8.6.707, public and private roads. I guess maybe, well, David, why don't you take it from here?
I wasn't here when you discussed this last, but I know about the issue.
Okay.
But I don't think we discussed it. We
You didn't?
put it off twice.
Yeah, we put it, yeah, we
All right.
delayed it.
Well, that actually is convenient then. Part of what's going on here, in my view, is this is one of 3 major things that troubles all 4 highway districts. And is among the reasons why they passed the ordinances that they all have now, which has created friction between their regulations and ours. And this is one place where we could give. But I think maybe it'd be useful for you to have a firm idea of what the current regulations say,
Go right ahead.
which is all in 86707. And in a nutshell, it's that major subdivisions have to meet highway district standards. We're done. Major subdivision roads leading to major subdivisions that are private also have to meet highway district standards. Let me catch up, make sure I'm saying that right. If it's a new road.
Mhm. So new private roads.
Right, that much is unambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
If a new road is constructed between a minor subdivision and the nearest public or private road, the road has to comply with the highway district standards. So the nuance here is that major subdivisions are clear, minor subdivisions also have to meet standards if it's a new road outside the subdivision to a minor subdivision. Where it gets tricky is if it's a private existing road connecting a minor subdivision to a public road, it just has to meet fire district standards. And that's among the things I think that angers or frustrates, maybe is a better word, the highway districts. Pat, you see anything else?
Yeah, and the reason, for the longest time, those had to meet highway district standards too, but it was, in many cases, it was considered, too great of a burden to place on somebody that's just, like the mom and pop who's dividing their property into 2, 3, or 4 lots, especially if it was a long private road, which, went for quite a ways before it connected with the nearest public road. And so that was changed with the adoption of the Land Use and Development Code back in 2016.
Okay.
Since then, we've had situations, of course, that you're well aware of, where essentially certain developers are making an end run around our major subdivision requirements by developing piecemeal with several minor subdivisions in succession. And this has, had the effect of a major subdivision development. And so that was kind of the genesis of this highway district action to require upgrades of private roads to the nearest public road as a condition of, getting an approach permit from the district. And so now David's basically asking to change that back from fire district standards to highway district standards.
So the crux of the matter, if I'm not mistaken, to boil it down, is multiple minors on a private road?
Well,
Is that a fair
to me, there's
statement?
3 things.
Go ahead.
That's one of the 3.
Go ahead.
Another one is just the case of a single minor subdivision that's
New?
distanced from a public road and only gets to the public road through a private drive. What do we do with that?
Right.
That's a separate issue.
Right.
Okay.
Then the third issue is, so the multiples, the distance, there's one other, I'm clouded. You'll come.
Well, is it the several minors that equal a major?
That's the multiple.
That's the
That's
first.
helpful.
That's the multiple,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Single,
it's the, I never have understood how the highway districts think that this $3,500 per lot that they've been using for 20 years is still valid.
traffic mitigation
Right.
fee.
Right.
Yeah, but that number was valid 20 years ago.
Right.
How can that still work for them now?
Okay.
That's their issue, not ours. We can't
Okay.
address that.
Okay.
But it kind of clouds the issue, set that aside. Another weirdness is the bonding, unrelated to this section. Because Rand Whitman just went through that nightmare. Well, I wasn't here, I've caught up with it. He's got some ideas he'll bring to the table. Chad Oakland's beside himself on how these, and so is Aspen Homes. Just so you know, to me, those people should have known. It's been in our regs. I can't help it that they didn't bother to read them or call us and ask. And
Right.
that's on them.
Right.
But I'm always willing to consider better ways to help do good planning. And if there's something we could do on bonding that works better for everyone, I'm all over that.
And
That's-
we did discuss that while you were on vacation too. Mary brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think we have a path forward on that.
Yeah, we do.
But on this one here, so it helps me to use real live examples. So in my piece is 17 and a half acres, so I could have 3 5s, right?
This board approved 25 homes, 5 acres, that actually touch my southern border. If I wanted to divide so my children can each have 5 acres, I now have to take that third of a mile from Ohio Match back to my house and now make it, if we approve this, now make it highway standard, which is gonna be over $200,000. So
That'd be real money.
That's- Yeah, and that's where I would have a takings concern potentially.
because
You
now
know, when it doesn't have a rational nexus to the
Right.
impacts of the development at issue.
So the mom and pop gets
Right.
punished for the developers who have,
And that, exactly, and that was the reason that it was changed to a lesser standard in the first place. Now, I mean, the first scenario, I think, you know, passes the takings test because of the impacts to the highway system, and that's really the main concern the highway districts have. You know, the fee in lieu is, you know, I think can be a good way for the highway district to avoid those takings, potential takings issues by, you know, charging that in lieu of. Go ahead.
well, I'm sorry, but it'll leave if I don't. Can we work together with the highway districts to take individual cases? So to say, okay, this is one of those cases where you do need highway standard roads. This is one of those cases where you need fee in lieu of. Could we do that, and maybe the highway districts can review their fee and say, okay,
Pick it
this
up
is
and-
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe, you know,
I think-
maybe even to the point of entering into an MOU that would
Well,
reflect that.
And back to Leslie's example with hers, okay, so 17 acres, so your rural zone, so 5 acre minimum, she's got the 3 lots. Private road going to Ohio Match, which is clearly a public road.
Yes.
If nobody else abuts that private road, hence is not available for further minor or major subs for that matter, why would she even be affected? But I don't know that, I'm assuming.
Well, and that's why I think the current regs would say you just meet fire district standards in that case.
Right.
Correct, but you're
That's-
looking at changing that law.
Well,
Where
I'm
it
not,
would,
yeah.
well, yeah, correct, sorry, it's been
But your
presenting to
the
us.
suggestion is.
Yes, and so that's where I have the
Right.
problem.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and same
The
thing
way
with,
excuse me,
no,
the
that's,
way the regs used to get to that was they had this clause of 4 things that the highway districts would look at. Remember that stuff where Eric went nuts every time?
Yeah.
And they decided that if the road's not gonna go through any further from your property, and these 3 other things, then the highway district will sign off, we're done. And you don't have to actually build the road to highway district standard. But Eric never would sign that since I've been here, Eric Shanley, Lakes. And didn't we take those 4 things out?
Yes, we did.
In 2016? Okay. That was, the 2016 code was the pivot point when all 4 highway districts were mad. I was at one of their joint meetings. I said to them, you know, the current county commissioners want these new things. They said, well, this causes us all this heartburn. That should have been my light bulb to see that they were gonna do what they did. So that's why we're the nightmare we're in. Okay.
so I don't wanna look at this as either or, I wanna keep plugging in how
Right.
we can protect mom and
Bringing
pop
both sides, both.
and
Okay.
prevent developers from obeying the letter of the law while skirting the spirit of the law, while violating the
Right.
spirit of the law.
Right,
Right.
right, which is the multiple
multiple-
minor scenario.
Really,
Right, right.
really major subdivisions masquerading as minor.
Exactly.
Correct.
Well, the thing too that's interesting, and you know, we are taping this, and it's probably even live on YouTube, for the benefit of anyone or everyone who might be watching, we need to understand and distinguish between private drive and private road.
Mhm.
To some of us, it may be obvious, but do you want to comment on that, David?
Oh, well, it's a term of art.
Go ahead.
I would actually have to read it for you out of the definition section, but they mean different things. And the easy short take without turning to the code is that the code's written very precisely, so that under certain circumstances, roads have to meet these standards, under other circumstances, they meet these standards. always generally to the benefit of the mom and pop, as you say, so that we don't put an undue burden on people. Where that conflicts with the highway district's desires is that they would prefer to have more stringent standards most of the time, because they get pressure, as you recall from being a commissioner, highway district commissioner, to take over some of these private roads.
Right.
Hey, you're here. We're talking about roads.
Apologies.
All right. Okay. Right, for the,
Yes.
okay, for conditions in access and whatnot.
Right.
But in Leslie's situation, your private road,
I don't know. I would need to hear the definition.
Yeah, that would be a private road.
does
For
it
three
abut
different
other?
lots.
Actually,
Or no,
Yes.
it'd be a driveway.
Depends.
It's
I mean,
it'd be a
well,
common driveway.
what it turns on is how many
Lots.
There you
how
go.
many parcels that it provides
Yes.
legal and physical access to.
1, 2, 3, 4 right now.
Other than
So-
yours.
Yes, so it would be 6.
Four would be a common driveway, but more than 4 would be a private road.
Right.
Okay, so then that's where I would
Right.
be subject to
More.
upgrading.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right, and it costs more.
right. So then I get punished for just wanting my kids on my property.
That's one way to look at it. The highway district sees that you're getting a free ride, and that someday they're gonna have to take over this nightmare, and they don't have the money for it.
Well, I've been there 20
I'm not
years, I
taking
know,
sides. I'm
I
just
know.
saying this is the
That's what
issue
their
we're gonna
argument is,
close.
yeah.
It's hard.
It is
The
hard.
The hardest part of it is it's politically a lightning rod.
Mhm.
Yes.
And just to, let you know that each of the requirements to meet highway district standards, at least in our code, does allow for, if the highway district approves a variance or a deviation from their standards, that counts as meeting their standards for purposes of our
Right.
code.
And the
so-
fire district does too.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
That makes some citizens mad, which you heard about from Pleasant View.
But sometimes variances or deviations are necessary to avoid a takings.
Right,
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 And
right.
so that's why they're there.
right.
right.
It's primary reason that they're there.
Well, I don't know, I still think that the relationship is super important. If we can build that relationship back with them so they're reasonable and we're comfortable,
Right.
then that's what
You
I
know,
would want to work towards.
What I think would be the starting point and earnest brownie points with the highway districts is if we could come up with a solution for multiple minor subdivisions, so you can't masquerade as a minor when it's really a major.
True. That's,
Well-
that's one of the
That's
biggest
a big one.
problems that we've had.
Maybe if there's 3 or more minor subdivisions within a mile of each other, regardless of ownership or something like
Something
that.
like
Just
that.
Well,
yeah.
timing of development.
Timing also, yeah.
Yeah. And I know you said ownership, but where did the original parcel, who owned it when it started getting broken up?
What happens is
Yeah,
that
that gets a little
it's-
tricky.
Yeah.
it's multiple parcels under common ownership, and subsequently,
The only trouble with
Over
common,
time.
the only trouble with common ownership is what if you break it down into various LLCs or corporations. that
yes,
you
that's
have
true
different-
too. That's
That's
the
the
way
tricky
around
part.
That
it.
you're,
Yeah.
you have your, associates or whatever,
There you go.
each is the manager,
You almost have to deal with just the physicality of the
Yes.
subdivision.
Right.
You put the ownership aside.
But then once again, okay, so I've had my 10 acres right here, and then this was all developed around me, creating that major subdivision thing. So now I want to divide my 10 acres into 2. Now, am I going to get slammed because
Potentially.
I am now part of the major subdivision?
That's what we need to avoid.
Right.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I'll look at all kinds of.
You know, what's fascinating in this whole thing is unwittingly, the highway districts might have come up with an ingenious way to control growth.
It's true, we've heard that.
I don't know that it was unwitting.
Well, that's true too.
I think they see this as a financial issue,
Yeah,
and that was entirely purposeful.
well, I still think at some point, there's gonna be a developer that challenges that
Mhm.
or,
It's
Yes.
just a matter of when,
right.
because there are some aspects of it don't seem entirely defensible.
Yeah, whether facially
But then on the
or as
other-
applied.
But then on the other hand, where do you reach the tipping point? That is to say, you have a substantial, or you reach a number of multiple minors where if the road is not upgraded to their standards, it's now a health and safety hazard, or a safety hazard anyway.
Mhm.
I don't know where that is. And that would be an argument that they could levy. I don't know.
It's a case-
Well, you know,
It's a case by case.
Yeah.
Another way to
Cases
look at
really-
it to avoid that is just a growth issue. It becomes,
Precisely.
again, a political lightning rod, but if you consider the growth issue really is how much growth are you willing to tolerate as a community? And this monkey's on your back,
Yeah,
without overburdening our highway districts. And what other communities have ratcheted down is just said, you know, minor subdivision truly has to be minor, it can't be more than 4.
Right.
go ahead.
And you can't do these masquerades. If we could find, again, if we could find that, I think that would earn us a lot of, and buy us time with the highway districts.
Sure.
Okay.
So where do we go from here? Do you want to engage with, or do we, should
I
we,
think
you
he
want to
needs
propose
language.
something?
I
You
think
need
you need to-
language.
Yeah, no, actually, I'll go online. The APA and the AICP have a new webpage where you can crib regs from other governments. Let me look and see what's on there that we might borrow.
Yeah, certainly others have wrestled with this, to your point.
Because I've gone just, you know, done regular Google searches, haven't found anything. I don't see anybody with our certain predicament. But again, AICP's created this entire roster of stuff from all around the country.
Right, we're not unique.
And yes,
Right.
and so I'd rather not try to invent the wheel. If we can just borrow an idea, let Pat run with it.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, and if you talk to them in the meantime, just saying we are working
We're working
really
on it.
hard to
And
come
it's
to.
on our radar.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Yep.
Okay. So item B, under community development updates, which is direction regarding staff attendance at community development scheduled agenda times, discussion items.
There are a
Yeah.
couple of things going on here. I'll lead
Go right
lead
ahead.
off and Mary can backfill.
Since I added it, go ahead.
There's a couple of things I know about. One is that some of the staff feels awkward in this time slot, showing up if they're not part of the case.
Okay.
And I get that, because it's a regular, you know, this is their working hour. And one could say that they shouldn't be here listening to someone else's case while they ought to be back at their desk doing their projects.
Someone arguing within your department or outside your department?
Inside.
Okay,
The staff just feels uncomfortable because they've heard concerns
okay.
that it might be better for you not to be here if it's not your case.
I
I'm
hope I didn't
paraphrasing.
express that because I
Well,
think
that was the
that's
takeaway.
beneficial for everybody to hear.
Okay.
The good thing is, though, if
Go
I can
ahead, jump
interject
in.
here, is that now that all these meetings are
YouTube
streamed,
and- yeah.
then staff can, everything you do affects how we do business
Sure.
every
Right.
day. Every decision you make, every discussion, it's important for us to know. But our staff can now watch
For these
meetings on.
meetings.
Yes,
And so
sure.
that's kind of where Mary and I landed, but I wanted to
Right.
get your feeling. Before we go off the point though, the other thing that I would like is that I'd like us to be able to use discretion.
Mhm.
There are cases where it's highly important at 9 o'clock and in the evening. If it's 9 o'clock, I'd like for the staff to be able to show up if it's highly important and not feel bad about it. That would be something like the comp plan update.
Right.
Okay. For instance, at night though, if it's a Condon case and the staff wants to see how it goes, I think they're on their own time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they agree with that.
We've conveyed that, I've conveyed that
Okay.
to everybody. It's up to
Alright.
them, entirely discretionary.
You're not gonna get comp
But it's
time
more
for showing
about-
up at that.
For example, one of the planning supervisors would like to be present here to listen to discussion if it affects his staff
Right.
and how he can give direction.
Right.
But he may not have put the item on the agenda. So he just
He
wants
wants
to
to
make
be able
sure.
to be here
Yeah,
and not feel bad about it.
And in
Yeah.
case he has questions or something to clarify, and make sure he understands, so just over consider it and
Yeah.
be.
No,
Maybe an overabundance of
If I've said
Newer
something in the
supervisor.
contrary, I have never had a problem with staff being
Yeah.
here.
Okay, good.
No.
Good to know.
Thanks,
We
that's
just
helpful.
wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I might
Yeah.
ask the question, well, why is so-and-so here?
Yeah.
But that in no way.
That wasn't meant to imply.
No, no,
Okay,
it's just
well,
like, well, are you presenting, you're not presenting, you're just, you know, because, I mean, Zach, you know, sat in for many, many
And
meetings.
that
And that was a
That's
learning
important.
experience.
And that was a learning
And I always want the
Very
new staff to be able to
beneficial.
show up
Yeah.
and that sort of
Right,
thing,
exactly.
just so they see how things go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and listening to the questions I ask, so they're already prepared to answer those, I mean,
Yeah.
that's helpful to me,
Yeah.
so
It's
I,
all a learning
All right.
experience for
Yeah.
your plan.
Well, this was good clarity. I feel
Yes,
better.
thank
Thanks
you.
for your time.
Okay.
Perfect.
Anything else?
Has anybody said thanks to Mary other than David for filling in?
Oh, gosh.
I have, but I'll say it again.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Admirable,
Thank you
admirable
again.
job for
Great
filling in for David.
Good job.
Nicely done.
Thank you. I think it was a team effort. I can't take complete credit. I'm happy
Well,
to do it
I can
anytime.
say that I had complete confidence.
It was like he wasn't even gone.
Yeah, I hope so.
Who?
Well, that's what we were
Now let's
hoping
start
Target's
with
for.
around the corner.
tonight.
Of course, there are things that always happen that we
Yeah.
don't predict, right? When seconding leaves, so.
Good job.
Thank you.
And as you point out, and you probably saw my email, that, you know,
Yes, thank
the several members of your staff who
Yeah.
presented at the all-day
Right.
Realtor seminar, I guess it was a class,
Right.
on Friday on surf and turf. Pretty much anything you need to know about land and water. Did a great job.
Good.
Everybody did, really.
You get 7 credits for that?
I get 7 credits.
Okay.
Realtor credits. I
Realtor
don't get any
credits.
for the appraisal side.
Yeah, I get that. But the realtors love it for that reason.
Well,
because
sure.
Isn't that
You know,
a big part of what they need?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's good knowledge for them too, not just the.
Or-
when I completed the questionnaire at the end, my comment was every transplant should have to take this class. Because you addressed, you know, shoreline vegetation, setbacks, really everything.
major issues.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Department of Water, IDL.
It's become a
everybody
nice
did a good job.
networking tool with us, with other agencies too, since we all collaborate before we do the presentation.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment? None, 9:27, meeting adjourned.